I thought of like an opening remarks thing that we can do at the beginning of every episode. So I'll be like, hello, welcome. I'm your host, Nikki, the baddest bitch in the building. Not to be confused with you, who's also the baddest bitch in the building. Something like that. And then we can go to the song. And then, like, after the song is done, we can start the episode. Let me know what you think of that. Oh my gosh, yeah, like that is so exciting. I recorded our first episode. It's done. um, and yeah, no, like this is we talked about doing this like a month ago, like a month and a half ago, and it's actually materializing. So this is like, it's like it's happening. So very exciting. Yeah.
What I'm about to tell you is probably the opposite of what most people have said to you your whole life. Are you ready? If you want to be more successful, you have got to be more delusional. You've got to be more delusional. And I'm sure throughout your life, dozens, maybe even hundreds of people have looked you in the eye and have told you that you need to be more realistic. You need to be more grounded. You need to make yourself smaller so that you can fit within the confines of what they think is realistic. But here's the thing. Being called delusional is a compliment. But unfortunately, most of us are not delusional enough. We're all born into this world as colorful human beings. We're all born with color. We're all born glowing and having this aura around us. But from a young age, the world starts to paint us gray through our upbringing and the social pressures to conform and be like everybody else, through teachers, parents, mentors, coaches telling us to be realistic, telling us that we need to be like everybody else and we need to fit within the mold of what a good girl is supposed to do and be and think and how she's supposed to behave. And gradually, as we grow older, we get painted over with the world's gray brush. And when the world is painting us over, it's using a very heavy hand of realisticness. We get painted over very heavily with the brush of reality. And that's why so many of us are living in hell. I'm not saying this to be bleak or to sound like some kind of doomsday preacher, but life on earth is hell because most people are gray. The key is to become colorful again. Just like how we've been painted over with a gray brush and we've become gray through learning and socialization, we can just as easily unlearn the things that are making us gray and holding us back and making us live in hell, when in reality we can create our own version of paradise, of a good life. But we can't even understand that and see that we have that control until we step out of this grayness and unlearn things like the tendency to be realistic. Hello, baddies. Welcome to another episode. This month, well, if you're listening to these episodes as they drop, we are now in the month of November. November is my least favorite month of the year. I do not say this lightly when I say I absolutely hate November. And I know that a lot of you baddies are in different parts of the world. I'm in Canada, and November in Canada, or at least in Toronto, where I live, it's hell on earth. It is hell. November has been painted over with the gray brush because it's getting colder. The trees are all bare and everything is dry and ugly, and there's no snow yet for it to at least look pretty when you look out the window. So it's just dry and depressing. And for whatever reason, we still do daylight savings. So now it gets dark at like 4 p.m. and it's just awful. I just hate November. So what I wanted to do for the month of November, like I mentioned in last week's episode, is I want to help us get out of a rut. If you are in a rut, or you just need a little bit of a push right now because you feel like you stagnated or you're getting too cozy in your comfort zone, the episodes I am dropping this month are going to give you that push that you need to get your ass back in gear. So today we are talking about why you need to be more delusional. You do. But before we do that, I just want to give a quick plug that my book is dropping on November 25th. So here's another thing that's going to make your November a little bit better. I'm just in the final stages of getting everything wrapped up and done because I'm self-publishing it and I did everything myself. I even designed the cover myself. So it's been a one-woman show and we're like 98% there. Just keep an eye out on Instagram if you don't follow me there, because that's where I post pretty much all my updates. It's not on TikTok or anywhere else. So make sure you are following me on Instagram. All right. The Lulu. You know what? No, this was a good segue, because if a year ago I had told somebody that I'm going to write a book and I'm going to self-publish it, I'm sure most people would have told me that I am delusional. And that's fine. If 2 years ago I had told somebody that I'm going to start a podcast and that it's eventually going to be my full-time thing, I'm sure I would have been called delusional. And actually, I did get called delusional a few times. Even last year, if I had told some people that I was going to quit my comfortable, full-time, permanent corporate job with benefits, with a good salary, I was going to quit that to pursue this, they probably would have called me delusional. And that's okay. People still probably call me delusional. I'm sure there are tons of people out there, friends, family, acquaintances, people who I don't even freaking know exist, but who lurk my page because they've met me or whatever. And they're thinking, oh my God, she is so delusional. Look at her. This is cringe. This is crazy. She's just posting these stupid videos and these stupid episodes and promoting her stuff. And it's so embarrassing. Oh my God. Like, okay, great. Call me delusional. I love being called delusional. I fucking love it. It actually strokes my ego so much because being called delusional is a compliment. It is a compliment. People are not able to understand your dreams and your aspirations and your goals because they're confined by their own small-mindedness, by their own projections of how they failed in their life or their shortcomings in their lives. And that doesn't matter. That is not your problem. Let me tell you a story. Earlier this year, I was at dinner with a few of my girlfriends, and one of them asked how my podcast is going. This was before I quit my job, before I quit. And one of my friends asked how it's going. I shared some details. I don't share too much, but I said it's going well, like this and that is happening. And some of the girls who weren't following me on Instagram pulled out their phones and they were like, I need to make sure I'm following you. I can't believe I'm not following you. And I noticed sitting at that table, there was one of my friends in particular who did not budge. Didn't say any words of congratulations or whatever. I don't know if I shared like a big accomplishment or something, but I was sharing something that was meaningful to me. But still, no congrats, no participation in the conversation. Didn't take her phone out to follow me, didn't do any of that. And was just listening. Some would say giving me evil eye, but she was just listening. And I took note of that. And I'm like, you know what? These are the types of people who watch you quietly, who are actually probably more engaged than most of your fans because they're watching every move that you do, because these people are victims. These are the victimellas. They want to see other people doing well as a way to reinforce their own victim mindset. And because they are small-minded and they don't think highly enough of themselves to believe that they're going to accomplish whatever it is that they want, they resort to calling you delusional and telling you that the problem is that you're dreaming too big, that you're working too hard, that you're envisioning something for yourself that's just too unrealistic. But in reality, all they're saying is that they are too small-minded to understand you. Hey everyone, it's Editing Nikki. I hope you're having a great day. This is going to sound like a corporate email. I hope you are doing well. If you're listening to this at work, I hope your workday is going well and you're not super busy. If you're listening to this on a walk, I hope you're having a good time. If you're commuting to work, don't make eye contact with the guy who's mumbling to himself. And I'm trying to think of other scenarios where you would be listening to a podcast. Maybe you're cleaning your house. If you're doing that, get a man to do it. Okay, listen, I'm here as Editing Nikki because I wanted to share something that's been on my mind lately and also related to this episode. So you might have seen my post on Instagram or TikTok probably a week-ish before this episode drops. If you missed it, I was basically talking about how nobody hears congratulations less than a woman who is child-free and unmarried. And this has been on my mind lately because since announcing my book release, I've seen such a difference in the reaction to that versus the reaction I've seen when a woman announces her pregnancy or her engagement or just anything related to getting married or having a child. But when I announced my book release, crickets. Y'all, crickets. The silence was so loud. And I think this is because of the way we've been conditioned to think of women's accomplishments and think of their accomplishments as number one, getting married, and number two, having kids, because that's what's expected of them. And I got a lot of responses to that reel or TikTok, depending on where you watched it. I had a lot of you DMing me. I had a lot of you commenting on it and sharing your experiences of how you also received crickets when you graduated from medical school or got a PhD or started a business, started your law firm, like all these amazing accomplishments that all you ladies have done. It's the same. Like I've never had a unique experience in my life. And whatever I've gone through, I know that millions, if not billions of other women have experienced it too. And it was very, is heartening a word? I know disheartening is a word, but it just made me feel less alone hearing from you ladies and hearing from all these baddies who've accomplished amazing things and received crickets. And it's not like I need praise or congratulations or anything like that, because I know myself that what I've done is an accomplishment and I'm proud of myself for writing a book. It was not easy doing that. Now, relating all of this back to the topic of this episode on being delusional, a lot of people are going to tell you to be realistic when you share that you're doing something that does not fit within the traditional trajectory of a woman's life. You're going to face backlash for whatever you do, basically, because honestly, criticizing women is like an Olympic sport, and you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't, because you can still follow the path of getting married and having children, but then if you decide that you want to do something career-oriented, or you want to do something that still prioritizes you and your goals, you're still going to face backlash. So damned if you do, damned if you don't. The child-free woman face backlash, the married woman face backlash, the unmarried woman face backlash, the married woman with children face backlash. Every woman will face backlash for whatever they do, especially if it means putting themselves first or pursuing a goal or an ambition. Again, people will tell you to be realistic because they want to box you in and shove you into the box that society has already created for you. And even miserable women who've gone down the path of doing things that they didn't want to do because they felt like they had to do it. Because a lot of women are living a life that they didn't create, are living a life that is not on their own terms. And many of us who want to break free of that and want to create a life that is on our terms and is within our control and is a reflection of what we want for ourselves, we're going to face backlash for that. We're going to be told that we're delusional. We're going to be told that we're crazy. We're going to be told that we're unnatural and we're violating the natural thing that we have to do, the natural path that's been set for us, that's fallen out of the sky and been told that we have to become mothers and wives and caregivers. So a lot of the people who are going to tell you that you're delusional, or who are going to tell you to be realistic or to tone down your goals, these people are telling you that so that they can try to course correct, so they can try to get you back into that box that society wants women to be in, because that's the easiest way to control them. So we have to be really careful of these people, these miserable, ugly motherfuckers who want to box us in and penalize us for exercising our agency and our free will. And let me tell you something, it's usually someone who's a little ugly. They do be ugly on the inside and the outside. Anyway, this was a very long editing Nikki tangent, but it needed to be said, and this is just so timely because of what I posted on social media last week and also what's been on my mind in the wake of my book release and the crickets. Okay, anyway, let's get back to the episode. Like I mentioned in Law 4, you cannot take anything personally, ever, because nothing is unbiased. Nothing anyone ever says to you is unbiased. Everything is filtered through every individual's perception of themselves, their relationship with themselves, their self-love, their self-hatred, their outlook on life, their worldviews, their values, their beliefs. All of these things are filters for what they say to you. So when someone looks you in the eye and tells you that you are delusional, or they might not say it in those words, they might just tell you to be realistic, or are you sure that's a good idea, or some crap like that. Oh, when you win the lottery, make sure to remember me. Like, fuck you, you're not a day one. What the hell was I saying? Oh yeah, okay. I was talking about how everything is a projection. When somebody sees you doing well, or discussing something ambitious that you want to do, it's just a reminder to themselves of their whatever shortcomings it is that they have. It is a reminder that they don't want to face. And it's easier for people to project that onto other people and to tell somebody that they are being unrealistic than it is for themselves to do some introspection and look internally and ask themselves what's holding them back and why they haven't achieved what they wanted and what's stopping them from being more ambitious or more open-minded or whatever it is. It's easier to give other people crap than to fix your own crap. So if anyone calls you delusional or tells you you're being unrealistic or tells you that your goals are too big, then that is a good sign, because that means you've broken free of this gray hellhole conditioning that most people are enslaved by. Think of it this way. If most people's goals and ambitions are the size of a regular backyard, just a small backyard, your ambition is the size of an amusement park. So obviously they can't even begin to grasp the size of that. They can't even understand the difference between the two. So different from them. You know those videos where it shows the earth next to the sun, and then it shows the sun next to a star, and then a star next to a supergiant, and so on and so forth. And then you're like, the earth doesn't even look like a speck of dust by the end of the video. And all these stars that they're showing you just become bigger and bigger. They're so big that you don't even have a grasp of what that means. Like, honestly, after the sun, I'm like, none of this means anything to me because I can't even understand how big the sun is. And that's exactly how people's small-mindedness compares to your ambition. It's like they're the earth and you're a super giant. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what their goals are. It doesn't matter the size of their ambition. None of that matters. You're not comparing yourself to them in the way they're comparing themselves to you. Because at the end of the day, the only comparison that you can truly make is between you and the previous versions of yourself. Everything else is just a waste of your time and not apples to apples. And let me tell you this, the real delusion is fooling yourself into believing that you are destined to live a life of mediocrity. That is the real delusion. That is the real mindset of somebody who is truly and utterly delusional. Because imagine believing that you are destined to just live an average life where you may or may not get what you want. You may or may not realize the goals that you want. You may or may not bring your ambition to fruition. Imagine kidding yourself and brainwashing yourself to believe that that is what you're destined for. That is the real delusion. I'm serious. That's the real delusion. Like, don't piss me off. Don't piss me off. That is the real sense of delusion. Anybody who kids themselves into believing that their trajectory of their life has already been determined for them and that they really don't have much control over their own lives. And that's how people end up living in hell. Most people think that you grow up, you go to university, you get a full-time job, you work there for 40 years, somewhere along the line, you get married, you have kids, eventually you retire, and then you die. That sounds like my nightmare. That sounds like my nightmare. And I think a lot of women are waking up to the fact that that kind of is a nightmare for a lot of people. The trajectory of your life does not have to be linear. It doesn't have to be linear. And this life pattern that we're fed seems to be linear. It's like it's the path of least resistance. Getting married, having kids, working a stable job until you retire and die is the path of least resistance. And let me be clear, I don't believe that there's a point of no return where your life is you're so deep into whatever life path that you've taken that you can't turn it around and switch course, go down a new path. I don't think there's a point of no return. Maybe that's me being delusional. I don't freaking know. But I believe that no matter how old you are, how much or how little experience you have in the workforce or in your industry or in whatever field you might want to enter, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If somebody has accomplished something, that means that it is realistic. When people would tell me, and to be clear, I don't share a lot of my goals with most people because I don't feel like there's any need to, and that just subjects me to other people's negativity. But in some cases, when it came up and I would tell people that I had a podcast or that I was going to quit my job and pursue it or whatever it was, something related to my podcast and my business, so many people would say that the podcast market is so saturated. There's so many podcasts out there. Why don't you do something different? I'm like, why don't you keep your stupid small-minded opinion to yourself, babes? Because listen, there could be a million podcasts out there. I'm sure there's more than a million podcasts out there. But guess what? None of them are hosted by me. None of them talk about what I talk about. So there can be 10 million podcasts out there, but there are 0 podcasts hosted by Nikki Motabar talking about how to hack the patriarchy. None. And somebody else can come along tomorrow and make the exact same podcast with the exact same content. And guess what? It still won't be the same. Because you know what's the differentiating factor there? Me. And that's how we all have to think. Because the most unique thing, the most differentiating factor that you have is you. I feel like a motivational speaker. I feel like I need to be like the pastors in those mega churches in the United States, like Joel Osteen, just telling people what they need to hear. No, I'm just kidding. Those are charlatans. I'm here to tell you the things that most of your friends are not going to tell you. Because I'm not worried about hurting anyone's feelings. Because when we cushion people and we tiptoe and walk on eggshells and we're so afraid of offending everybody and hurting people's feelings, we get nowhere. We actually end up doing more harm than good. I'm telling you all of this because I genuinely want the best for you. I genuinely want every single person who is listening to this podcast to succeed. You owe it to yourself. You deserve that. And at the end of the day, you wouldn't want something for yourself unless you believed that you deserve it. And going back to what I was saying earlier, when people would tell me there's so many podcasts and it's so saturated and it's so blah, 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 there are people making tens of millions of dollars doing the exact same thing that I'm doing. So what makes you think that that is not realistic? If one person has done it, let alone the hundreds or maybe even thousands who are doing it right now, how is that unreal? There's no reason for that to be unrealistic because people are out there doing that as we speak. And it's the same for whatever it is that you want to do. There's already somebody doing that or doing something very similar to that, which means that it's possible, which means that it's realistic. A few months ago, I saw a picture of Paris Hilton's new private jet on Instagram, and it was a bunch of pictures of the inside and the wings and the underneath the belly of the jet and all sorts of parts of it. And it was so cute and pink and girly, and it was just so her, also so me. And all I could think to myself was, if I ever decide to be a mega polluter and get myself a private jet, I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to personalize it and make it pink and make it branded like me. I want my initials all over it so people know who I am when they want to throw tomatoes at it and tell me that I'm polluting the earth. Y'all, I did a whole 180. I went from working in the climate change space to now dreaming of contributing to greenhouse gas emissions. But the point here is that when I saw that post and I saw those pictures, my reaction was to think, if she did it, I can do it too. And if that's what I eventually want at one point, who's to tell me I can't get that? Because somebody else has done it. If somebody else did it, that means it's realistic. That means it's possible. And if somebody else hasn't done it, that still means it's possible. Nobody had this topic for their podcast or their book or their whatever content they created, but I came along and I did it. And that again extends to whatever it is that you want to do. Because maybe the last piece, the last thing that is just holding you back, the last little push that you need is to just realize that it's possible and you should just do it. Because everything at one point started as an idea in someone's head. Everything, the pen that I'm holding right now started as an idea in someone's head. The mic I'm speaking into started as an idea in someone's head. The mic that I bedazzled, that was an idea in my head because I wanted a bedazzled mic. And so I sat down and spent weeks bedazzling this mic by hand. Everything that you have ever come across in your life was once an idea in someone's head. And that person probably was told by many people that they were being delusional and they were not realistic. And if they had listened, they would not have only deprived themselves, but deprived probably millions of other people who benefited and continue to benefit from the things that they've invented or that they've put out into the world. So I'm going to end on this. Remember, being called delusional, or in whatever way that it disguises itself, because people are usually not going to outright come out and call you delusional. Whatever they say, that you're not being very realistic, that your goal is a little bit too far-fetched, too big, too whatever, let's bring it down a notch, whatever crap they want to say, let them say that and treat it as a compliment, because it's a reminder that you have broken free of this gray hell conditioning. You're free from hell. You're not gray anymore. You're colorful again. Your aura is glowing, and you are now in the best possible position to go after everything you want and deserve. Because you've realized that everything that you want is at the tip of your fingers. Your fingers specifically, because you're the one who has the control over the trajectory of your life. You owe it to yourself to be delusional. And the real delusion is kidding yourself into believing that you are destined to live a life of mediocrity, a life of grayness, a life in hell. All right, baddies, I'm going to end this episode here. Always remember that I am rooting for you. Even if it feels like the whole world is against you and nothing is going your way, I am here and I'm rooting for you always. And in the meantime, don't forget that you are the baddest bitch in any building that you step foot in. Until next time, stay bad. Love you. Bye. All right, I'm going to give a shout out to all the baddies who are supporting on Patreon, but I'm going to do it a little bit differently this time, because previously I would just give a shout out to all the baddies from the lowest tier, because that's just the tier where you support monthly but don't really get access to anything else aside from a shout out. But now I've decided to include all the baddies from all the tiers, because you're all a part of the community and I want to acknowledge you and give you a little shout out for your continued support. So, shout out to Kate, Danny, Adriana, Mina, Gemma, Priya, Katya, May, Naomi, Nilufar, Adelaide, Nadia, Faith, Amy, Simran, Melinda, Bindi, Sophia M, Sophia K, Jada, Yael, Roselle, Amara, Kat, Jin, Delia, May, and Viv. Thank you all so much for your support.